Can't say it. There you go. Okay, we'll try that again to get the right town. Good evening, welcome to the June 8th regular meeting of the Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to ask the Lori to call the members, the seating of the members. In attendance.
Okay. Michael Rossi is not here this evening. Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren.
Here.
Eddie Alvarino,
Here.
Michael Florio is unable to be here. Chinzi Lettieri,
Here.
Jay Mandel,
Here.
Zach Lord,
Here.
Dylan Walter,
Here.
Andrew Randy is unable to be here. Susan Marcus is unable to be here, and Brian Pellegrini is unable.
I'm sorry, do you have another agenda? In mind, please. No, we only have one.
So we have six members present, is that correct?
Thank
Is that
you.
right now, correct?
But that's
So what did I miss?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I've got Zach, myself, Ellen, Jay. Oh, Dylan, okay,
Killen.
yeah, okay, so we have 7 members present. So we have a quorum. Couple things in my comments. When we get to the public hearing portion of our meeting, I'd like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to move item number C, or letter C rather, which is, wait, no, not that one, no, I want to move C, which is the self-storage facility, to A, because I think we can kind of wrap that one up rather quickly, so I'd like to ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Motion, it's been seconded, is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
A second issue, and I brought this to Abby's attention, is the application for the shopping center. We cannot hear that because under the shopping center regulations, there are different requirements, so that application has to be amended to just represent a retail outlet at that location. Because it was noticed both on our agenda and a legal notice under shopping center, it would be inappropriate for this commission to follow through with the public hearing that has not been properly noticed. It's kind of a, kind of a nitpicking thing, but we have to make sure our i's are dotted and our t's are crossed. So unfortunately, we will not be hearing that application this evening. That will be, the application will be amended, and that public hearing will be held at our July meeting, and I'm not sure of the date.
What would be helpful, so there's two.
Something like that. I'll let him know and he'll get in touch with you, and then if you want to sign his.
Enrique, if you're in, are you in the Zoom meeting? No. Okay. So the, I'm sorry, the fundamentals that we could receive at the 22nd and hold the hearing.
My brother's in my phone. No, he was down. What's the address?
I can't.
It's Albert. Her product, they're not for free. That's how we made it.
Test, can I just pick it up?
Yes, we can hear.
You can hear now.
That's not it.
But my computer do, that's what it's. Well, from what application is online right now? What is your, Rob is here to present, Scott is always the one.
Well, I know it's.
Kate is here, so the only one we have. We're just trying to figure out if people have audio stuff, if there's anybody coming in here, right?
And that's what they're.
We have a microphone.
We have a microphone, we'll let you know if it cuts out again, Kathy's computer's not working, mine was just shut down, so. What is happening?
We're gonna pray that mine is on.
Recording is probably kind of weird. Yeah.
So we're ready to proceed?
We are ready to proceed.
We fixed.
We're fixed. Next item on our agenda is a review of the minutes from the May 11th, 2026 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or corrections on those minutes?
No, but I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion.
I seconded.
It's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
But also abstaining, because that's not here.
So we have 5, 4 yeses, 2 abstentions, 3 abstentions. So with motion passes. Under new business,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I have to recuse myself from this application as a sort of property abutting this nearby.
okay,
They can proceed as conflict of interest.
thank you very much. The record should show that Dylan has exited the room, because he has a conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest.
Did we move the other one out? Oh, did we make a motion?
That's during the public hearing portion.
No, the one.
Yes, yeah, that's it moved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did he refuse? So
He's recused himself. This is the new business, so we have to receive this and schedule this for the public hearing. So this is PZC 26-26-12.
okay,
The special exception for self-storage facility pursuant to section 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations, 335 Main Street rear,
East Main.
East Main Street, correct, thank you, Eddie. Map 88, block 69, lot 124, zone I2. So I'd like to make a motion to receive this for public hearing and schedule for public hearing later, on today's date.
So moved.
We have a motion,
Second.
it's been seconded
What date we're gonna do that public?
today,
That's-
Oh, we're in the public hearing.
yes.
I'm gonna get it.
I got it. Yeah, we have a motion, it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions, passes unanimously. The next item on new business is, yes.
Oh, it does say shop return.
Let the record show that Commissioner Walter has returned. The next item under new business is PZC 26 13. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission sponsored text amendment to the Clinton zoning regulations for sections 3, 10, 12.3, 23, and 27.2, and the addition of a new section 37 titled Middle Housing to comply with the requirements and restrictions of Public Act 25-1. We need to receive this and schedule this for a public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to receive PCC 26-13. Planning and Zoning Commission sponsored text amendment to the Clinton regulations.
We have a motion
And the public hearing will be on.
We are scheduled for public hearing,
on the 22nd.
22nd of July,
Yeah, June.
June.
Yes, sorry, special hearing. So we have a motion.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded by Ellen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. The next item is PZC 26-14, Planning and Zoning Commission sponsored zoning map amendment and associated zoning regulations text amendments to sections 21 and 33, and the addition of a new section 24 entitled Parking Management District and 33.12 Parking Needs Assessment to comply with the parking related requirements and restrictions of Public Act 25-1. I'd like to ask for a motion to schedule this, to receive this, schedule for public hearing on the 22nd of June.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to receive PZC 26-14 and schedule it for June 24th.
22nd.
22nd.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next on the new business is PZC 26-15, which is the site plan for cap enclosure of the Clinton landfill pursuant to section 27.2.51 of the Clinton zoning regulations. That's located at 0 Nod Road, map 0 Old Nod Road, map 14, block 3, lot 18. The zone is IP. The applicant is Larerio Engineering Associates. I'd like to receive this.
I would like to make a motion to the Planning and Zoning Commission to postpone the action on application PZC 26-15 until a future meeting, until the next meeting, so that we can adequately talk with our town planner, and that we can have some answers that commissioners may have addressed by Lareiro. I find that additional review is necessary for this commission to fulfill its responsibilities under section 27.2.51 of the Clinton zoning regulations. We still don't have a full picture of how Lareiro will be revising the proposed truck access routes. And because this application is coming from the town, I think that we should give it just as much scrutiny as we would any other applicant facing our Planning and Zoning Commission. So I do think that there are some unresolved questions, and before we accept this application, I would like to have those questions appropriately answered.
I think what I'd like to do on that is I'd like to receive this application, and we have the option of scheduling a public hearing on this. And I think if we receive this and schedule a public hearing, we'll give an opportunity for both ourselves and the public to review the application more thoroughly and perhaps comment on it. So I think we should receive it and schedule for public hearing to.
Well, I think before we schedule a public hearing, we should have some of the commissioners' questions answered first, then schedule a public hearing when we have a fuller picture of what this is going to look like from Lareiro. This is a very sensitive space in our town. It was, essentially had a lot of environmental issues. We still don't have answers to stormwater management questions, construction sequencing. So I think that postponing the acceptance of this is completely within our abilities and what we should be doing as commissioners.
I agree that we should give this further review, and I agree with all your points. I question why we would not receive it scheduled for public hearing, because that's going to be the end result, and any information that the commission would receive prior to, you really can't receive the information until you have some type of an application received, whether it's a site plan application or whether it's a public hearing. You have to have some format to receive that information other than just showing up. So this is the first step, would be to receive it and schedule it for a public hearing, so that all those questions, which are legitimate questions and concerns.
But yet, if you receive it,
I understand what receiving is. I've been on this commission for more than 2 years. I understand
But-
that.
But scheduling a public hearing, everybody get involved in it, and you'll gather more information for the public.
Correct, but we could also gather some more time and some more information and then schedule the public hearing at the next meeting.
But if it's a month from now, wouldn't there be enough time? Abby, what do you think?
So, okay, so if I can through the chair.
Yes, absolutely.
So Lorero is here tonight, and so if there are initial questions or a project overview that you would like to hear from them as you are thinking through how to proceed, they are here, they are ready to present and can share information with you certainly tonight. That does not preclude your ability to determine that this requires a public hearing. As with any application, it's not an application of the commission, so you are still looking at this from the date of receipt, you have 65 days to open that public hearing under the statutory timeframes. You do have time. There's nothing that says you have to sort of, move this faster than you're comfortable moving it. The application itself is complete. It does have all of the required information. There was a revised transportation plan that was submitted late Friday. It should be in the record now. But again, I understand there are more questions, and then the commission received some correspondence from the WPCC as well. So there's a lot to look at here and absolutely understand that. And the question for right now is, one, would you like to hear from Lorero, who is here as the town's consultant on this project, to hear an overview so you have an idea of what you may want to know or ask starting, sort of beginning now? With the understanding that if you send this to public hearing, all of that information would need to be represented into the record to make sure that the public hearing is complete and that the record is fully complete. That's something to think about.
Ellen?
And I'd like you to review the timeline that we would be looking at if we did go ahead with the receipt this evening. As you pointed out, we have 65 days to open the public hearing, which
You do.
it would not have to be opened even until the August meeting. And then beyond that, we have, I forget.
From the time that from the time you open the public hearing, you have 35 days to close it. And then from the time of close, you have 65 days then to act. Now, the other piece of this is, there are 65 discretionary days built into that system. So certainly if something needed more time or anything else, you could. I would encourage you to hear from Lorero while they're here, to at least have an understanding of sort of what's been presented so far, and what is in the record, just to make sure that everybody is kind of starting your approach to the project from the same place, and that we have it on the record. The public can review that as well. And that gives folks a chance to, at least kind of be informed at the early stages, and then go from there. And then you can make decisions as you go.
And just as a point of order, do we have a motion to receive on the floor?
Well,
That'll-
I asked
We
for a
did
motion,
make
I don't
We
think
do
it-
not, we do not have a motion on the floor. Okay.
And you could, as part of the motion to receive, and you could ask them as part of the discussion, or you could just have them come to present to you and then vote to receive and make.
If we Can't we receive it tonight and then we have a long time for the public hearing?
Well, or we could do as Abby just suggested, that we can hear their presentation.
Yeah.
And then act on whether we want to receive and schedule a public hearing or not.
It's just
Yeah.
so sensitive
Oh,
that
absolutely.
this groundwater is
There's a lot of
contaminated,
issues.
the traffic that's
Oh my
gonna
God.
happen to Old Nod Road and the folks that live in this town. So I think that we have to do our due diligence as commissioners, so.
Absolutely, and that's why
Yeah,
I think that's why we have the option to schedule a public hearing on this. We don't have
Yes.
to, but I think that
Absolutely,
in this case, for the public's information and for our information,
right.
we should definitely schedule a public hearing, but we can go ahead and hear the presentation if they're here.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Emily Kelting. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Lorero Engineering Associates, located in Plainville, Connecticut, here on behalf of the town of Clinton regarding the Old Nod Road landfill closure. Also joining me via Zoom tonight is Kate Engler. She is a vice president with Lorero Engineering and a licensed environmental professional. So project overview, the landfill is located on Old Nod Road in Clinton. It's an approximate 9.26 acre parcel that was the former town landfill site. Our proposed project is a comprehensive landfill closure of the site prepared in accordance with Connecticut DEP solid waste regulations, as well as the open consent order that currently stands on the site. Our goal of this project is to complete a formal landfill closure, generate revenue for the town, protect wetlands and water resources, improve long-term environmental stability, and enable future municipal use. Little site history, the site was originally a forested ravine. Landfill operations took place between 1960 and 1979, and the waste received at the site was municipal solid waste as well as industrial waste from local businesses. An earthen cap was placed on the landfill in 1980, and it's important to note that the cap that was placed in 1980 does not comply with state regulations. The cap varies in thickness from 6 inches to 2.5 feet. And once this cap was placed, the site did become inactive. And then in 1990, Connecticut DEP issued a consent order on the site, which requires remediation of the landfill. The site has never undergone formal landfill closure, and this consent order still remains on the site. Again, so our primary project goals are to close out the open consent order on the site, establish a stable final landfill landform, minimize infiltration into the waste that currently exists and reduce potential leachate generation, improve the stormwater management on the site, stabilize the steep slopes that currently exist, protect the adjacent wetlands and water courses, and achieve long-term environmental compliance.
If I can interrupt for a minute,
Sure.
what is the consent order? What is that?
It was an order issued by the state onto the parcel.
Okay.
And essentially, it's a relatively large document, but essentially it's requiring testing, additional monitoring, and ultimately remediation of the landfill.
And I'm assuming that during we schedule a public hearing, you'll have the details of what's required under that consent form in more detail?
Sure, we can certainly have that,
Thank you.
yes.
And can you clarify, the current cap is composed of?
It's just a soil cap that was placed on the site, and it varies from about 6 inches to 2.5 feet throughout the site. There was no, there's
Soil,
no,
not clay.
correct.
Thank you.
It was definitely identified as a brownfield. Right?
Yes.
Had groundwater contamination.
No, that's
Okay.
made a lot of people sick.
So project benefits, following the proper capping and closing of the site, the town will be in compliance with DEP regulations and be ordered to close out the open consent order. The project will generate revenue for the town, provide long-term environmental improvements. Again, it'll improve the stormwater management, reduce erosion and sediment transport, reduce infiltration and leachate potential, enhance long-term site stability, and protect against the adjacent wetlands and water resources. In addition to permitting through Planning and Zoning Commission, we did present in front of the Inland Wetlands Commission last week. They did determine during that meeting that this was not considered a significant activity. And we're hoping to receive a determination during the July meeting next month. In addition to the local permitting, we did submit an application to Connecticut DEP through their solid waste group. And we did already receive approval from them on our material acceptability protocol. And we do have approval from them to begin stockpiling material. It's important to note that we don't plan to mobilize or start any construction until we receive full approval through the town. And we also submitted recently the construction stormwater general permit through the state as well. So current conditions, the site is vacant and undeveloped. There's dense vegetation throughout the whole parcel. There's an existing access road from Old Knob Road up to the top of the landfill. And adjacent land use consists of forested areas, residential properties, and the DPW to the south. And again, as mentioned, there is an existing cap or cover on the site that ranges between about 6 inches to 2.5 feet. And again, that cover is not in compliance with the state's current regulations. And based on historic borings that were collected, waste was identified between 1 to 51 feet below grade. And this is an aerial of the site. Sure if my mouse. Probably hard to see on the screen, but this is Old Nod Road here, and then there is a path that leads up to the top of the landfill in this section. And then this is an existing conditions topographic map. And on here, the blue hatching shows the wetlands that were flagged by our soil scientist. And the green hatching shows the 100 foot review area. And we did our best to avoid impacting any regulated wetlands. There's one small pocket of wetland that we did have to disturb in order to properly cap and close the landfill. And I'll show that on a drawing as I get further along. So major closure activities, we'll be bringing in material to bring the site up to subgrade. So there'll be placement and grading of the fill material. We'll then be installing a 2-foot minimum cover system. We'll be regrading the steep slopes that exist on the site, installing permanent stormwater infrastructure. There'll be erosion and sediment controls that are installed and maintained throughout the entire duration of the project. We'll be providing a vegetative stabilization following the full closure of the site. And we'll also be installing a permanent access road. So this drawing here is our grading and drainage plan, and I'll have this zoomed in more a few slides over. But again, our goal is to provide stable long-term landfill configuration. We'll be reducing slopes to a maximum of 3 to 1. There's currently slopes that are 1 to 1 and 1.5 to 1. There's some relatively steep slopes along the southern portion of the landfill. There will be about 1.5 acres at the top of the landfill that will have a 4% slope. And in general, we'll be grading the site from south to north. So working from the back of the site towards Old Nod Road. Material will be placed in 2 to 3 foot lifts and will be compacted with a vibratory roller. And stormwater management, there was a stormwater report that was submitted as part of this application. And just to summarize, we'll be installing diversion swales, riprap drainage channels, 4 detention basins that will be equipped with low-level outlets and riprap outlet protection, as well as slope stabilization measures. And the key design principles are to control runoff conveyance, reduce erosion potential, minimize sediment transport, and protect the adjacent wetlands. And our stormwater was designed per the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual, and post-development runoff has been controlled for the 2, 10, and 100-year storm events. And again, performance objectives were to maintain or reduce peak flows, minimize downstream flooding and erosion, and protect the adjacent wetlands and drainage features. And then this is a more zoomed in version of our grading and drainage plan. The dark lines that you see wrapping around the landfill are riprap drainage swales that were designed to convey a 10-year storm event. Those swales will discharge into the 4 drainage channels that you see that run perpendicular to the swales. And those will ultimately discharge into detention basins that were designed for up to a 100-year storm event. And those are equipped with low-level outlets as well as high-level overflow riprap spillways. And then for soil erosion and sediment control measures, we'll be installing double row sill fence and compost or mulch socks around the entire limits of disturbance. Those will be installed at the start of the project and maintained throughout the duration of construction activities. There'll be inlet protection installed on the catch basins located on Old Nod Road. We'll be installing erosion control blankets on any slopes that are 3 to 1. And there'll be an anti-tracking pad located at the entrance of the site. And then in addition to that, the final drainage basins will be used as temporary sediment basins. So those will be constructed at the start of the project. And then towards the end of the project, if there's any sediment that accumulates in those basins, those will be excavated out, placed under the landfill cap. And then the basins will be stabilized with a wetland seed mix for final use.
How many cubic yards of fill material or cover material?
Of cover material?
Yes.
I can't do the math in my head right now, but it's 18 inches of a low permeable material that we'll be installing over the entire 9.26 acres for the cover material. And then there'll be 6 inches of topsoil placed over that. I have a slide on what the capping.
But
system
basically,
is.
we're talking hundreds of trucks.
Yes, to bring the site up to subgrade and then to put the cap in. And I have some information on truck traffic as well, in a couple of slides. And I just wanted, we did present in front of wetlands, but just wanted to present to this commission as well, where we're disturbing within the upland review area and just the small pocket of wetland on the east side that we're disturbing. We're disturbing about 0.01 acres of that one small pocket wetland over, you probably can't see my mouse very well, on this side right here. And our soil scientists did determine that this was a man-made wetland with low functions and values. He did determine the wetland located south of the site had higher functions and values, and we redesigned our stormwater system to avoid any disturbance in that regulated wetland. So the only wetland we're disturbing is that one small pocket, and then there's some regrading within the upland review area, but appropriate sediment and erosion controls will be implemented during construction.
Can I ask a question, Abby? Is that it?
Absolutely.
Okay, Abby, do you know if we have hired a third-party, full-time, in-house technical, oversight?
So
person?
there's no third party review. The town council has contracted with Lorero to provide engineering services, but there is no third party oversight of the project.
So we have nobody at the site to check the trucks for, what they're dumping, or if it's up to,
Right now, it is entirely up to Lorero under the contract they have with the town. There is no third party provision.
so. And what, would it be fair to say that each triaxle, truck can equate to 25 tons?
22, 25.
That's not my area of expertise.
Okay. About 22 tons, and there's no third party oversight like we've had with, I don't know, the seepage lagoons or our transfer station.
There is no third
Okay.
party oversight.
Okay.
Project fairs.
Wanted to make that.
I have a slide on our process, which might clear up maybe a couple of questions.
But I see that you opened up. I still can't fathom the thought of all these trucks. You said in your, I asked you this before, remember? And I just can't get over the fact that you said the town's gonna make money from the trucks bringing all this filling. So I can say this, I represent a lot of quarries. What quarries, where is the material coming from? And who is gonna pay? No quarry that I know is gonna come in and give you, pay bring in beautiful soil or bring in anything to cap a landfill. And pay, you gotta pay them. I don't understand how it's gonna make money.
Back to,
Go ahead.
I think the.
Wait, wait,
the-
Chairman.
The money, Mr. Chairman, the money's to be made after the process is capped and the space becomes. As different capping qualities and different things occur, you can then use that land for other purposes at a certain point, and that's, I think, where the
Oh,
income generation.
how do we get there, Zach? Who's gonna bring in material for free
Well, that's
and
not,
pay?
that's not how that goes, you're right.
That's, listen to me.
I think if I could through the chair, I think that Emily can probably speak to what the finances of the project look like and what Lorero's role in that would be.
Yes,
It doesn't equate, does it make sense that it said in the slide, the town is gonna make money, Mr. Chairman?
I think she's gonna allude to that later on in
Yeah.
her presentation.
yes.
She didn't do it last time.
I can answer now, or I can finish presenting and then maybe answer some
Good.
questions. Is
Yeah,
that-
sounds.
Let's do that.
Okay, all right, sorry. So the final capping system, as I mentioned before, it'll be a minimum 2-foot cover over the landform, a minimum 18 inches of a low permeable cover material, and then 6 inches of topsoil with a vegetative support layer, and then permanent vegetative stabilization. And again, the design objectives are to minimize infiltration, reduce leachate generation, promote controlled runoff, and support long-term maintenance and stability at the site. And then in order to bring the site up to subgrade, we'll be bringing in what we call fill material. And then the cover material is part of that 18-inch low permeable layer. And this material will comply with site-specific criteria that's been approved by the Connecticut DEP. And this criteria was designed to be protective of both human health and the environment. And all of the incoming material will be reviewed and certified by an LEP against the approved DEP criteria before being accepted and before being received at the site. And this runs through our material verification process. So material suppliers, people who want to bring the soil to the landfill, will retain a licensed environmental professional to sample and certify that the proposed material meets the approved criteria from the state. And we have created a material record and log that the state has seen and approved of. And that provides, the fill supplier will have to provide material information, the requested quantity that they want to bring in, as well as all of the analytical data that they've collected. And they submit that material record and log to Lorero, and we perform an independent secondary review of the material record and log. And only materials that successfully complete both reviews are approved to be accepted at the site. And then that approved material will then be scheduled for delivery and placement. And all incoming loads are then visually inspected upon arrival to make sure there's no debris or miscellaneous materials that's in the loads that are delivered. And then the certified material is documented and saved, including analytical results and supplier records. And that documentation is maintained for each source. So we'll have a log where we track all of this. Again, a comprehensive material record and tracking log is maintained to document and verify all accepted materials that are placed on the site. And just to summarize, the review, approval, inspection, and tracking process provides multiple layers of quality assurance and regulatory compliance through the project. So lots of tracking and secondary reviews before the material is even received at the site. And then there is a visual inspection once the loads do deliver the material.
So obviously the places that you're gonna get the material from have to be inspected and approved.
Yes.
And then you're saying that each load will also be inspected upon delivery. Will there be any samples taken with each load?
There's samples collected prior to them even shipping the material to the site.
But what I'm saying is when they arrive on site, will there be samples taken of the material that arrives on site?
We have not done that in the past with previous projects. There's a pretty,
Zach?
So to just follow the process, real quickly, so the seller is saying, we wanna get rid of this material, and they present you analytical data. How is that process done? Do they have, any sort of like Department of Public Health certification to validate, like you guys validate their certification?
so
for
they
analysis?
need to hire a licensed environmental professional
Mhm.
to collect the samples, review the data, and fill out this material record and log form.
Sure.
And then they sign and certify that. So the generator of the material signs that material record and log, and then an LEP is also certifying and signing that material record and log.
So is there any, is the LEP, your company is hiring an LEP? No, so
No.
I'm a little confused here.
Yeah, so
The seller's material, or people that want to dispose of material are paying for the LEP, correct?
So I guess my question ultimately is, it's a Connecticut Department of Public Health certified laboratory completing this analytical.
the laboratories that they're sending the soil to for testing are certified laboratories.
Okay, so then the next step is, there's an independent verification now that L'Oreal completes. Are you guys sending this independent verification to a certified environmental laboratory?
We don't do additional testing of the material, but we review the laboratory data to confirm that it complies with our criteria that the state has approved.
Okay.
Alan?
Are you distinguishing between fill material and cover material in this process?
Yes,
So this deals with the fill material.
this is for fill material. Yes, we do have material record and log for cover material, but there's more strict requirements, the analytical requirements associated with the 2-foot cap. And most of the time we end up having to purchase that material. So this is the updated site access route. It's probably hard to see on this plan. I summarized it briefly. So from Route 81, it'd be Route 81 to Egypt Lane, to Cow Hill Road, to Airline Road, to Old Knot Road.
You're sending trucks down Egypt Lane?
This was,
You can't do that. No way.
That is way too steep and windy.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
I think that was the previous route, correct? But the one that was amended went down past 95 and took North High.
Okay. I think North High is much better, but. Certain.
You might be right, I might have put the old one in.
I think that was the
Okay,
one.
I
that-
apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. And then via I-95, it's Route 450 to Duck Hole Road to River Road to Nod Road to Old Nod Road. And I apologize, I might have the old one in here. And I also want to know what the truck and also. We have full say and we were communicating with the truck drivers delivering the materials, so if we designate a certain route and we realize it's not working well. We can very easily modify that, and this map will be provided to all fill suppliers before
Who
delivery.
makes that decision? Does the town have any say in that decision? If we don't feel it's working all right?
It's the town, we're working for the town.
Is there a bond posted by your company or any of the companies coming in to, I mean, obviously this many trucks is gonna do damage to the roads. There's no way around it. Most of these roads are not designed for multiple heavy trucks day after day after day.
I don't know that we were planning to post a bond, but I did talk to our leadership team, and if there's damage caused by the trucks, it's Laredo Contractors, it's part of our company that's doing the actual construction. And we'll certainly work with the town to repair any potholes or any damage to roads that might be caused, but I do have the frequency.
But that's not contractually agreed to at this point then, correct? Is that correct to say?
Not that I'm aware
Thank you.
of. So for construction operations, we're anticipating about 2 years to complete full capping enclosure. Construction hours will be limited Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we're estimating an average of 50 truck trips per day, so that's about 5 trucks per hour. The project team again has full control over material receipt and scheduling, and we're willing and happy to work with the town if something's not working out well or if a route doesn't make sense. Site lighting is not anticipated on the site. Dust control measures will be implemented throughout the full duration of construction activities. We'll have a dedicated water truck on site. Soil erosion and sediment control measures again will be installed prior to construction activities and maintained throughout the full duration of the project. We are operating under the construction stormwater general permit, and we've created a stormwater pollution control plan for the site. So there's weekly stormwater inspections that are associated with that, as well as strict requirements for soil erosion and sediment controls. I think I mentioned this before, but proposed stormwater sediment basins will function as temporary sediment basins during construction activities. And any sediment accumulated during construction will be excavated out, placed under the cap prior to final site stabilization. And site access will be controlled by a secured entrance gate, which will be locked at the end of each workday. And the town will have access to that as well. Following closure, a monitoring and maintenance program will be completed. This includes monitoring of groundwater, as well as inspections and maintenance of the final cap. And then again, just to run through the project benefits, following capping and closure of the site, the town will be in compliance with Connecticut DEP regulations and the open consent order. The project will generate revenue for the town, provide long-term environmental improvements, improve stormwater management, reduce erosion and sediment transport, reduce infiltration and leachate potential, protect against the adjacent wetlands and watercourses, and enhance long-term site stability. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I think from what we've seen and heard tonight, I think that kind of makes our point that this really should go to public hearing so that we get, in a way that we kind of have the cart in front of the horse here. Because there's already a contract. And as, you know, I mentioned even about the, you know, a bond or not on the roads. And that's something that, you know, that is not part of the current contract. And I don't know how that goes in, but that's something we can discuss at the public hearing portion of it, as well as other things.
Abby, may I ask you a question? When was this contract by the town signed with Lorero?
I would have to go back and get a copy of the contract and take a look at that. I don't know if you have the date on it.
It's around 2022.
Wow.
But there's a lot of information that I think that we need to get, and also the public needs to have as well.
Absolutely.
So, again, I'll ask for a motion to receive this, and I think that we should have a public hearing, so I'll ask for a motion to receive this and schedule for a public hearing.
So moved.
We need to figure out what date though.
You do that June 22nd?
I think
I wouldn't recommend doing it at the special meeting for the regulation
No.
adoption. I would think that
The July
commission
meeting.
would want the
July.
We could postpone it till.
I got.
We have
Report,
only 30, I'm sorry.
good.
We have to close the public hearing within.
35 days of its opening, there are 65 discretionary days that can happen within that space. So every application comes with a discretionary 65 if you needed to extend for some reason.
We could extend the public
You
hearing.
could, typically it's on the applicant's consent. This is a town project, so if the commission needs more time, I don't see.
like your comment, sir?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of information presented to you. Basically, you have a consent order, so you have to comply with it. In order to comply with the consent order, you're essentially gonna have to strip about 9.5 acres of vegetation, trees, brush, everything else, and put 2 feet of soil. So it's a fairly large project. There's issues regarding the landfill itself. Is there currently groundwater, surface water, and gas monitoring? Are there issues? Will the network be supplemented? More questions. So on a project like this, from my experience, a positive thing that might take place would be to have a section of the town website dedicated to, here's the issue, here's, all the things that are going on, questions regarding, is contaminated material going to be placed on site? Is sort of contaminated material such as asphalt fragments can be placed on site? How will that impact stormwater runoff, things like that? So I would suggest you at least consider having the consultant set up some type of informational website you can access from the town.
Whenever I'll probably identify himself.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Right now.
Could you identify yourself for the record?
For the record, Robert Braverick, Austrian Environmental.
Thank you. Again, so I've asked for a motion, Dylan made the motion.
For the July 13th meeting.
Okay.
Is anybody gonna second that motion?
I would
I
second.
second.
We'll give it to Jay. Okay, any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor of receiving this application scheduled for public hearing in our July meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, we'll see you in July.
Yeah.
Any information that you could send forward to the commission so that we're more prepared prior to July would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda under new business is the tree committee discussion. Is there anybody here from the tree?
Carolyn, for the next hearing. Okay.
Please identify yourselves and
I'm Carol Geiser, the chair of the town tree committee.
So it's,
yeah, you have to kind of.
I'm Carol Geiser, chairman of the Clinton Town Tree Committee.
and I'm Enrique Alworth, a member of the committee.
Thank you.
I have Joel here.
It's gonna have to close it, yeah.
You have to, I'm sorry, I'll be honest. My hearing is bad, really bad. Can you, talk louder?
Yeah,
I will.
closer to the owl.
We don't have, where's that microphone? Microphone from?
John brought that.
I think I will try to see if I can get it working for us,
We
but
do have a mic.
maybe we just kind of project for a second while we see if we can get it working.
And if you could just come up closer to the commission, please. Yeah, the owls are recording
Oh,
device.
I would sit next to
Oh, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
You gotta talk into that.
We need to size for.
I could speak loudly if you want.
Enrique, I was
Yeah,
able to.
I would appreciate it. We call. Oh,
I proceed with
Don't worry.
just speak up.
just talk about.
Look, we really want to thank the commission for listening to our presentation today. You know, this is on a lighter note to everything else you've been doing today. Thank you for all your work. The tree committee is presenting to you today because we've been working pretty hard over the last year. And just want to introduce ourselves. The members are Carol, Diane, Bill, and myself. And we got two different things to present to you today. Next slide through. One of them will be an introduction of ourselves. And second, we want to also do an update on the tree ordinance, which has been written here a number of years ago. So we've been working on doing a rewrite of the ordinance as it was written back in 1998. And also, we want to present ourselves to the commission as a resource for your planning. You know, the committee here has some amazing experience on matters that relate to the trees, to the environment, and that's something that lines up nicely with what we're trying to do here in the town, protecting our canopy and enhancing the lives of everybody in town. Just for background's sake, for myself, I'm a research scientist. I did study ecology in one of the big schools in Boston. I'm mostly working in cancer, so the tree thing is a side gig for me. Next slide, please. Here we see ourselves as the tree committee. We can interact with many of the commissions and the committees here in town. We see this as a link to each one of you guys. You can use this as a resource. You know, questions will come up. What trees should we put in this place? What's good for our environment? We see our role in interconnecting with planning and zoning. Again, the Conservation and Commission, Inland Wetland Commission, for example, Shellfish Commission. You know, there I could not really figure out how we could interact with a shellfish, but you know, in any case, you do need the trees to clean out the water that goes into our waterways. But again, what I'm trying to present is a tree committee that is interested in interacting with the rest of the town. And we can be a resource for all of you if you have us. Now, on the next slide, the tree ordinance that is currently on record here in Clinton was written back in 1998. Carol was responsible for putting that on the books back then. When I joined the committee almost a year ago, I looked at it and it struck me that it still had old language. You know, we had the selectmen language in there and so forth. So the idea here, when I approached this, and again, I apologize, I think as a scientist, kind of systematically, you know, how do I tackle this? Oh, by the way, that's a flamboyant tree from the Caribbean. We won't have any of those here, but it's quite pretty. So next slide, please. So again, we still use the selectmen language on that 98 ordinance, which was approved, and things change, you know. So what I tried to do was the following: being new to both the idea of government and how you go about changing an ordinance. I looked at various towns. I took 6 towns in Connecticut. I basically did a gap analysis. And you can get down a rabbit hole really fast, you know, and the idea here was not to rewrite the entire thing and find every problem that we might need, because we already have a fairly nicely written ordinance in town. But there's some elements that could still be improved. So I took, you know, towns of Seymour, Hamden, Greenwich, Middletown. And again, I merge all these things together. Not afraid to say that AI is fantastic at doing stuff like this. And I do that at work all the time. So I felt fairly comfortable looking at this. So that's how we proceeded with doing the gap analysis. That's a Draco tree from the Canary Islands. If you cut one of the leaves, it bleeds red. So in the Middle Ages, it was considered to be a magical tree. Next slide, please. Here's just an example of the type of analysis that came out of this. You know, we put Clinton on top, towns on the left-hand side. You know, what is the committee structure? What kind of terms you have for committee members, et cetera, et cetera. So I found this to be, you know, quite illuminating because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You know, a lot of people have put a lot of work into this, and what you can come out of this plan is something that makes sense. Again, why do the work when a lot of people have done this already for you? So the idea is to accept the best things of multiple places and bring it forward. Next slide, please. This is just an example. Again, urban forest management, which is what they're calling these things now. Use a lot of words, so you can use a couple, you know. This is President Greenwich, Middletown, Hamden. We don't have one here, and we don't have a requirement for long-term urban community forest management or anything to that matter. So, you know, I think that gives us an idea that in the past, the tree committee was, hey, let's put a tree downtown, you know, and let's walk away from it. Now we're looking at this as ecosystem, a canopy that we're protecting, and an environment that benefits everybody. Next slide, please. Again, another example, tree planting policies and species list. I think that this is something that we can improve here. For example, there are a number of trees that would be best suited for our environment here. And, you know, commissions and committees in town could guide people and say, please don't plant this invasive species that does not belong here. We have other trees that could be better suited for the environment. And actually, it works out better economically to plant some of these native species here that protect and promote our ecosystem. So I think that this is something that, you know, the tree committee can help with, you know, making recommendations as to, you know, what should be planted in town and how we can go about it. So on my next slide, basically, I will be providing Abby a copy of our draft ordinance. And what I would humbly ask the commission is take a look at it, you know, see what you see in it. If you have any recommendations for us, and anything that you might like or not like, or that we might have missed. So as I tell all my scientists, please don't let me do anything stupid, you know. Again, it applies here. We don't own absolutely everything, but I think that this is a great opportunity to help on something that really matters in our town. Again, and for the next slide, I think that, you know, the Planning and Zoning Commission could really help us in this. One recommendation, and I don't know how this could be played out, is you guys are continuously working on the development of town. New development comes in. Could there be a way that, you know, people that come in and do development have a recommended list of trees, for example, that could be, you know, posted to them, because that helps helps a long way in what we're trying to do here. Next slide, please. You know, and when you look at this, there's a list that, you know, could be put in your hands, and then you can help us all in the protection and the selection of the right trees to be planting in Clinton, which I think, you know, again, it's not a lot. We don't want to add, I don't want to add regulations, you know, that's not the idea here. But, and I think that most people, in my experience, when you talk about the environmental impact of the trees and biodiversity, they respect this. So if you tell them, hey, don't be planting, you know, Bradford pear, you know, and you tell them why, they will listen to you. But I think that a commission like yours could really help on something like this and make a huge impact. So again, on the last slide that I have, you know, again, as an example, you know, if you need to know what trees can fit under a utility wire, we can come up with a list, you know, or if you need tall trees like we will need for our town green, we can also come up with a list of candidates for that.
If I may, I think that first of all, coming up with a list, a suggested list for us will be very beneficial, because on any major development, we have a site plan, and those site plans often include plantings, whether they're shrubs or trees or whatever. But, not a negative, but your activity from your group would be present as well, because most of the site plans that come before us, they'll have a planting diagram, and your group could review that and come to the meeting and say, look, you know, I appreciate you're putting this here, but we would recommend you change this tree. And I think most developers would be receptive to it. They, you know, they've got to plant trees to make the thing look good and to cover things. But
Yeah.
the type of tree, I think they would appreciate the input directly from the committee. And I think, you know, having a list that we can go by, a suggested list would be beneficial as well.
And that, you should just tell them that every one of our, decisions or, all the plantings, you'd be greatly appreciated.
We're a resource, and that's why we're introducing ourselves. So we wanna, you know, again, ask for your feedback on the draft ordinance. I think that that's important, so it could be of record. And exactly, that's our idea, you know, we're here, we came to introduce ourselves. You need help with that, we're happy to, you know, provide that help, and
You could probably work with the, Planning and Zoning Commission, come up and
Well,
help.
that's what I'm saying, that
Design.
if they, you know,
Do it right
present
now.
us first of all with a list that we can have as a resource,
Yeah,
that'd
that's
be
no problem.
helpful.
That'd be
But
great.
also for yourselves to get involved in our site plans. That's it, you know, you could come in and look at them. As I said, if you look at what's the plans, they have a very detailed planting list, especially on a larger project.
Yep.
So, you know, you could take a look at that and they tell you what size trees, where they're gonna be and so on and so forth. And your input would be very valuable. And I don't think a developer would find it overly burdensome.
Let's hope not. And at the end of the day, it's like the least of, I mean, compared to all the other big asks that they have, I'm sure that, you know, they really, that's like the smallest line item that they have, so they're gonna help us with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jessica?
I just have a question. So we did receive some correspondence from your commission committee. And I was just wondering, why have that many trees been taken down? Because I know, are you actively fighting to keep the one tree, or is there any follow-up around that correspondence?
This is a personal opinion?
No,
For
no,
me.
no,
I'm
no.
happy to answer that.
I read the email
Yeah.
and I live on Liberty Street, so I
Oh,
was
yes, she's
watching.
talking about her trees going down.
So I'm watching the trees come down thinking, I don't know what's happening, but
Yeah, so, you know, that's also, that's a different part of our role, you know, so these trees came down, in my opinion, they shouldn't have.
But they were
tree.
supposed to come according to the ordinance. Was it the town that was supposed to come to you before the trees?
There
came
should be,
down?
there's an advice element to the ordinance, you know, the tree warden should come to the tree committee. And
Okay.
at least have that discussion, and that has not occurred.
So these last 3 trees that were cut down, that has not happened,
That-
and,
That happened, for clarity's sake, that happened at our request, because we saw the sign, it's like, what's going on here?
Okay.
The committee was not advised that those last 3 trees were coming down, and we asked for that, you know, what's going on here. The reasons were given, not widely accepted by the committee. But we went ahead, and now the last tree is up for being cut down, and the committee's against it.
Hey, Doc, was those trees, were you advised by the tree warden on those trees?
Only after we asked, because I saw the sign as a resident of Clinton, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm in the tree committee. I didn't know that these trees were coming down. So we asked the tree warden to come to our meeting, and he gave his rationale, which I think that I respectfully disagreed. The tree still came down. This last tree, I don't think that there's a reasonable story to support why it should come down.
Okay.
and would planning and zoning have any role in supporting that tree not coming down?
If not,
Okay,
that would be.
But again, I didn't mean to bring that to,
Yeah.
you know, that was a different
no, it,
kind
we
of
just,
worms.
She lives across the street from me, so she saw it.
received correspondence as
Yes.
commission members, so.
Excuse me, Ed?
So I can get just for a brief update, so I sort of peripherally involved with the Director of Public Works and the tree warden, one of the things that they had asked me to talk about, kind of what could happen on the green. The decision to take the tree down certainly isn't mine or this commission's. We don't have that level of authority over those things. However, one of the things that I had recommended and they had sort of, thought it was a good idea was coming out with some plans that the tree committee, other beautification, conservation, other folks, this group included, can have an opportunity to have a public process around what the green should be, what's the appropriate level of canopy, how should this proceed going forward? Because what you'll have right now is a large, wide open space and an opportunity, and the question is, what should it be for residents now and into the future? And so to that end, I'm waiting for a revised quote from our consulting town engineer, who also has landscape architects on their their employee, who hopefully can give us some sketch plans, just to say, look, here are some options, here are some things to consider. Here are some species we would recommend, here is the level of planting versus, potential pathways. How does the town want to use the green going forward? Is it a miniature town forest? Is it something else? All of these things, I think, require a bigger public conversation, and it's really, I think that would be a welcome process to have things kind of out in the open.
There was agreement. I think that the problem is that the trees came down with no plan. So I can see what's going here, but you knock down the trees and say, oh, we need a plan now. So the tree committee does not feel that the process of, for those trees to be protected were followed, so.
I say something, one of those trees that were planted on that green was for my sister. Over 25 something years ago, she planted that tree. My sister did. In fact, I talked to McCusker, Selectman McCusker, I said, hey, that tree for my sister, and she died of cancer, 25 years ago, 24 years ago, but she was the one who planted that, so I was gonna say something about it.
When we did the first tree inventory, there were at least 30 trees on the Liberty Green. Now, that was an excessive amount, but we recorded there were 30 trees on that green. And the one thing I do want to say is the first 4 trees that were removed were done by Eversource. They required those to come down. And then they planted 2 trees, one of them correctly, one of them up a little too high. And so the middle part of it started to die in the fall. But those are the kinds of things that, we had absolutely no control of either. And then the next thing we knew, the rest of the trees were kind of supposedly going down because of a potential hazard to the statue that was there. And now the one tree that is remaining.
I think we're gonna tie ourselves to that trees.
But is one that we had planted as an Arbor Day tree. The conifer tree was an Arbor Day tree, and they did leave that, thank goodness.
But I do think going forward, that we would like your input as far as tree species that we recommended. And again, I urge you to come to our meetings where we have, our agendas are posted. You'll see a site plan that may or may not be of interest to you, depending on where it is and so forth. But I don't think most developers would object to your, recommendations.
And
I think that's the best way to go forward from a planning and zoning perspective.
Maybe Abby, excuse me, Mr. Chair, maybe I could get them on the email.
Yep,
So-
there's a notice of land use applications that goes out to various groups, so we'll make sure that that's coming to you and we're going to send you the right address.
Now, what kind of tree did your sister plant?
She planted like a Christmas tree. It was, I don't know what you call it, fir?
Yes,
Fir, something,
okay.
but she planted that real little plant. But then it grew, and I said to, again, Mr. McCusker, he was a selectman, and I said, my sister planted that tree, and it lasted a long time, and
Was it just removed recently?
no, it actually, I think it was, I don't exactly remember how many years ago it was.
Okay.
Well, so we think,
That's,
I think at this time, we're gonna move on to the public hearing portion.
All right.
Thank you for your time, and we look forward to
thank
your
you
input.
guys.
Question regarding this.
Sure.
As far as the ordinance goes, Abby, will be posted on the website, the wording of the proposed ordinance.
So certainly, and through the chair, certainly any proposed ordinance that would be going forward for the town council would absolutely be posted and available.
That ordinance would, we don't do ordinances
This,
here.
this group
Okay.
wouldn't
Alright.
do that,
Cool.
so they may opine on language for them to then present to the town council later.
Second thing is a list of recommended trees, I think would be great. I would rather it be a list of recommended trees because sometimes people would like to plant different trees that are not most likely going to be on the recommended list. For instance, Carol,
Well,
the Dawn Redwood that I planted in front of the Pearson School.
That's not one of the ones. No,
But
no,
again, you
no.
always have a sign there saying planted by the Clinton Tree.
Oh, you know what? I think the town has removed some of those.
Okay, anyway, but we did do, we
That's
did.
for
the-
Oh, she's taking your thunder.
What's that?
You took your thunder.
We did put an Arbor Day tree in front of the police station.
Okay, but
So
yeah,
next year, we'll have new.
and the last thing is I agree with a lot of the stuff, 20 odd years ago. We planted like 3 dozen Telcobas along the south side of Main Street between the police department and town hall. And, I think you would agree that they, do wonders as far as canopy.
They certainly do. Now, what we only are in charge of from 15 feet on the center of the road, only on town property.
Okay, folks, it's time to move on to our public
Thank
hearing.
you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, it's time for the public hearing portion of our meeting. I'd like to ask the secretary, Ellen, to please read the legal notice.
And just, for the record, I'm reading the legal notice as it was published, even though we have, our agenda reflects the status. The Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider the following. PZC 26 9, special exception for a shopping center pursuant to section 27.2.25A of the Clinton zoning regulations, 224 East Main Street, map 78, block 70, lot 159A, zone B4, applicant Seamus Morans, H&H Engineering Associates LLC. PZC 26-11, special exception to approve a rear lot pursuant to section 27.2.13 of the Clinton zoning regulations, 75 East Main Street, map 54, block 61, lot 12, zone EMDB, applicant Frank Vaca, BSC Group Engineering and Surveying. PZC 26-12, special exception for self-storage facility pursuant to section 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations, 335 East Main Street rear, map 88, block 69, lot 124, zone I2, applicant Robert Grabarek, Osprey Environmental Engineering. At said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard. The application correspondence are available for public inspection on the town's website. Anyone requiring special accommodation to participate in the public hearing should contact the land use office at 860-669-6133. Michael Rossi, Chairman, Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, as Ellen mentioned, PZC 26-9 will not be heard this evening. That's got to be renoticed and amended the application. So also as noted prior in the beginning of the meeting, we moved PZC 26-12, which is the special exception for a self-storage facility, which is listed on the agenda as C. We moved that to A. So we'll ask for that presentation at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
Certainly. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Bye, Dylan.
Let the record show that Commissioner Walters is leaving the room.
Did we only have one post meeting?
Two. Yeah.
We still have 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Should be all set. Okay, thank you. Which one of these is full screen, so I'm not gonna touch it.
Maybe they have our microphones.
I think that's all natural.
Are you all set?
What's
Are
that?
you all set here, shared?
Yeah.
That's right. No. There was just something messed up there. I could interject before we get going, I know we had the issue with the town engineer, and I think that was resolved, and there's one other issue that I'd like you to address,
Okay,
and that is the parking issue.
okay,
There are, I believe, 38 parking spaces on the site plan. That would require you to come forward with a vehicle charging station. You have the ability, that's why I mentioned
yes,
this. You have the ability to reduce that by 9 and get below the threshold of requirement. You'd still meet the required parking for a warehousing facility, which is what this is considered. So you can avoid that if you choose to amend your application to reduce the parking spaces by 9.
I would love to do so.
Okay, well, we'll get to that when we get to the end of this, but we'll listen to your presentation now. But just
Okay.
wanted to make you aware of that, you know, we did have those, actually 2 outstanding issues.
Thank you.
That was,
So my picture is showing now. So how do I get the site plan in the back of the map here? I think I just turned mine over, you don't think? Sure.
Is it because Bob was logged on twice? So one point you were allowed, but also.
Do you have a specific presentation or are you just pulling up specific?
Thank you.
Okay, you have a,
I've seen that with a little short information, exactly, you have to be the road time.
They canceled the last one.
see, we're sharing now.
No, and I got finally on the letter and they canceled it, so I was like, all right.
And now to.
Hey, I said goodbye to them,
Oh, you did?
yeah,
What are you doing?
Yeah, it's one of these buttons.
the last meeting,
Yeah, this
Thanks,
makes
so
it.
we-
not this,
This is.
Thanks.
No, really?
I think this is my last meeting, yeah. I don't think I have to come back to it, so.
Okay, for the record, Robert Graverick, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm representing the applicant Shoreline Partners LLC. 2 of the members, 3 of the members, all 3 of the members are right here. What we have in front of you is a site plan application for self-storage and warehouse facility. These units are the self-storage, this unit is going to be the warehouse. The site currently is pretty much open. It's been stripped of soil because of a previous application where they were able to take the hillside down, make it a flat site, so we can go ahead and do this particular presentation. There's an access strip, so you really won't be able to see much of any of it from the street. The access strip comes up here. This lot has the car wash. Over here is Grove Gardens, all on here. Residential construction on the west and northwest sides of the property. So there's self-storage and warehouse, no occupation, no offices. So there's no bathroom facilities, there's no potable water facilities.
Electricity,
What's that?
no electricity.
The only electricity is for lighting. So there's not gonna be any heat inside, there's not gonna be any climate control inside, it's just power coming in for lighting.
Yep.
The lighting itself is shielded. It's motion controlled, day and night switching. So it'll only be on when people drive by or park in front of the facility. That's pretty much it. As far as the parking goes, we really didn't think parking was necessary due to the operation. There's no office here. It's all gonna be handled remotely. People are gonna pull up, parallel park in front of whatever unit they have, get out, go in and load and unload and things like that, and then come back. So as far as defined parking spaces, I showed them on the plan to satisfy the regulatory requirement. But practically speaking, people are gonna park in front of the units, and that's pretty much it.
As I mentioned, you are at the top of the threshold of required parking.
Yeah.
You can reduce that by 9. or
Easily,
actually.
yeah, because essentially they're paper spaces.
Right, so you can reduce that and still meet the required parking spaces.
Okay,
But if you reduce that by 9, then you can circumvent the requirement for a vehicle
Excellent.
charging station.
yes, How do I do that? Do I just make
I
a,
think that the commission would be satisfied with with the.
just a
being
statement
reviewed
right now?
Yes.
You're saying we will reduce the parking to the minimum level?
Yeah, and have that reviewed by staff.
Correct, yeah, so should the commission get to that point tonight, I do have a recommended motion, and one of the findings in there would be essentially saying that with written approval from the zoning enforcement officer, so we have a record that reduction was approved.
So you have a motion in there for approval tonight?
I have a motion for you to consider once you've gone through the public hearing and any sort of testimony.
Right.
Okay. I remember.
They withdrew and
We went through
reapplied.
everything and it was just closed,
Yeah.
we approved,
Yes.
Yeah,
it's been, okay.
so if I may, Abby, all the requirements have been reviewed by the town engineer and he agrees with the drainage and so forth?
Correct.
We have the magic letter.
Yes. Okay. At this point, I'll ask if there's anyone from the public that wishes to address this application. Anybody for? Anybody against? Anybody with a neutral comment? There being none, do any of the commission members have any additional questions? There being none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing on this issue.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
We have a motion.
Second that.
It's been seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, public hearing is now closed on this issue.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Second item on tonight's public hearings is.
Love you gonna stop sharing? Stop sharing.
Yeah, just get the. Oh. Yeah, you can probably do it. I would. Stop.
Well, that's what they'll take the structure there.
What's that? Oh, he's gonna, when we get to the end of it.
Oh, okay, I thought she were. You need for. Yeah, I thought I missed it in the show.
So the next item on tonight's agenda is PZC 26-11. This is a special exception to approve a rear lot pursuant to section 27.2.13 of the Clinton zoning regulations. This is for 75 East Main Street, map 56, block 61. Lot I2. Zone EMVD, the applicant is Frank Vaca, BSC Group Engineering and Surveying. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am attending via Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. I was looking around and didn't see anybody.
Sorry about that. All set. Would you like me to move forward with my presentation?
Yes, please.
Very good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is Francis Vaca. I'm a professional engineer at the BSC Group in Glastonbury, Connecticut. I'm here today regarding 75 East Main Street. It's a lot split, again, at 75 East Main Street in Clinton. This evening, I'm here on behalf of Zenolith Partners, Hope Partnership, Paul B. Bailey Architect, and I'm also, in this case, assisting the town because this the parcel itself will be essentially remain on the town's property. One second. Tonight, we are here to respectfully request approval of a special exception for lot split of 75 East Main Street to create one front lot and then one rear lot, and the rear lot is in accordance with section 27.213 and 12.10 of the zoning regulations in the EMVD district. Briefly, tonight I'm going to go over the existing site review and the survey of the property, and then kind of identify the proposed lot split and what is occurring with regard to this split. Can you all see the cursor on my screen? So the
Yes.
property is you can see by the north arrow here, we have skewed the view slightly over to the northeast. This is the property in question, 75 East Main Street. Route 1 is over here, and this is the front of the Abraham Pearson School. The parking lot is Page South and the memorial tree identified here. currently the property, and I'm going to overlay the survey over top of this. The survey was prepared by Gesek Surveyors. It's dated as of March of 2026. It has been updated as of March of 2026. So the building is identified. It basically falls directly over top of the aerial image building. This is the parking area, the tree, and then the front portion of the green space, gazebo, and the statues. I enlarge this area. The magenta line that you see is currently the property associated with the entire 75 East Main Street development, the subject parcel. In total area, 160,308 square feet, approximately 3.68 acres associated with this development. This development was associated with a part of a site plan approval back in 2024 for the redevelopment of the main portion of the building for residential use, as well as a portion of the frontage of the property to be used by the town for a new senior center. This is an overlay showing that. So this is essentially the building that is being reused. This is in a new addition, parking associated with it. The portion of today with regard to the site plan, portion of today with regard to the lot split is the frontage portion here, which I will identify. So this is again the full property, and then this green piece is the piece of the split that we are requesting today. So the current single property will be split into two pieces, the front yard here, or I should say the front parcel, the in green, and then the rear parcel. So the front parcel is part A, which is 23,859 square feet, 0.55 acres. And the rear lot, so the rear lot accessible by the driveway access here, which I'll speak about momentarily. The rear lot will be 136,450 square feet, 3.13 acres associated with this the rear portion, which will translate to the rear lot. Looking more in depth at the actual frontage portion, I'm not going to hit on every item associated with the rear lot, but I wanted to highlight a couple of specific portions of that. So regarding the section 4 minimum area, the requirement is 1.5 times the lot area for the EMVD district. We grossly exceed that, 136,450. Minimum frontage is 70 feet. Because it's a rear lot, basically you have to make sure that the lot is at least 70 feet wide. We are 274 feet wide. Setback, all of the setbacks in accordance with 1210(3)B is a 10-foot requirement for all yards, and we have provided 10 feet. As you can see, there is the front of the Abraham Pearson School is identified here. We came 10 feet off of that to place essentially the front yard and rear property line of the new front parcel. This wraps around the corner of the building at 10 feet, and then this runs along. The location of this property line is set based on the current gazebo on the green space portion. It's then 10 feet back behind the gazebo. Then it wraps around, and we maintain all of the green space portion of the site to be within the owned by the town. Access width, 25-foot minimum. We have a rear lot access of 32.5 feet, so we satisfy that requirement. The access length is per this particular section. There is a number of different dimensions associated with different residential uses. The final use on that is for this development zone, and it is a minimum 100-foot requirement. We have 107 feet to get to the rear lot. The driveway slope is also needs to be less than 5% within 50 feet of the entrance onto the state route, and we're at 2.7%. I'm going to transition briefly here to speak a little bit more about the front parcel, the minimums. In order to satisfy the requirements of ensuring that this is still a quote-unquote functioning buildable parcel, this identifies the setbacks associated with that front parcel, and then there is a required 70-foot by 70-foot square that fits within all of those buildable setback areas identified here in orange. As far as the rear setback, as I had previously mentioned, is set. I should say the rear setback and the rear property line is set specifically off of the gazebo, which is the only structure on the front parcel, but is still considered a viable structure. And in order to stay within the property, or to stay within the requirements of the regulations, we ensure that the property line was 10 feet behind that. There is also a minor regulation in the parking lot landscape section 331014B, which indicates that any lot that is greater than 45 parking spaces, and I quote, shall include landscape buffer strips along the front lot line. It does not specify any dimensions associated with the buffer strip, so we have provided a 2.5 foot buffer strip of grass. We've transitioned the sidewalk over to allow for that buffer strip to be in front. So there is the parking associated with the existing development, which was approved, as I previously stated, in the 2024 approval for the redevelopment of the Pearson School. We wanted to ensure that we maintained all of the parking associated with that, which is why we are utilizing this 2.5 feet for the landscape buffer to satisfy all of the requirements of the rear lot development. And then finally, for a special exception for a rear lot shall not be approved until the commission has made finding that the land characteristics and physical conditions make such rear lot development practical, appropriate, and in harmony with the purpose and intent of zoning regulations. This lot split that we are proposing for this allows the town to maintain ownership of this green space, to continue to use the gazebo for public gatherings and so on, as well as access the public statues along this parcel. This lot split is the most appropriate mechanism to continue to utilize this space and keep the rear lot portion separated, the residential piece. Yes, there will be portions of the rear lot that will be utilized, leased by the town for the senior center. The front portions of this parking will be utilized by the senior center as being, they're not dedicated, but they are available for use. The parking requirement is such that there is adequate parking for the capacity of the senior center. But again, we wanted to, it was this town's request and the owner's agreement that it was possible to essentially keep the ownership of the green space front parcel by the town, which is why this lot split is being proposed. So again, with respect, we request the approval of the special exception for a lot split at 75 East Main Street. Thank you very much, and I will do my best to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do anybody have any questions for the applicant? Which is also the town. So.
Great. So
Any questions?
So the front green portion is still owned by the town.
Correct. So what this does is it establishes the lot lines so that as the Pearson project moves forward, when it is time to get to closing, there can be an approved plan to be filed on the land records that allows the town to retain the front green space, the gazebo, to maintain all those town operations. And then the town would lease back that front senior center portion of the building where the gym is and those front offices. And then the housing units would be developed under the current contract.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions? Is there anybody from the public that wishes to address the commission on this? There being no questions from the public, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing on this issue.
So move.
Got three
We
moves.
have three so moved. You could have it,
We'll
Dylan.
take the second.
Dylan, you could have it.
Okay, we'll give that to Dylan, and Chinzy will take the second. We have a motion, it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I will like to say, that was a really great presentation. Like,
Yeah, nice job.
came out and that was cool.
That's a nice job.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we have a motion, it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing is now closed on this. The staff reports, do we want to hear them
So
during our deliberations, or do you want to go forward with them
either,
first?
either way is fine. They're all part of the record, so you can certainly discuss them. For obviously 2610 and 2610 are not relevant for tonight's discussion, but, the rear lot and the self-storage facility, there, I do have motions prepared for each of those and can pass them down as you get to them, or can get them all out now.
I think it would be beneficial to have them in front of us
Yeah.
for discussion. First one that we'll be discussing under old business is PZC 2611, which is the application that we just heard. The applicant just gave us presentation. And this is the special exception to approve the rear lot pursuant to section 27.2.13 of the Clinton zoning regulations at 75 East Main Street, map 56, block 61. And this has been reviewed, I spoke to Abby about this earlier, this has been reviewed by the town attorney to make sure that everything was on the up and up with the, that the lots met all the regulations.
Correct, so yeah, we've gone through, so, and the reason that Frank went through all of the various pieces that he did was to make sure that it's clear on the record that there's no variance required to create this. It is not a subdivision, so that's important to note. There are elements of the chain of title that will need to be clarified with the town attorney, and I've put in some language in the motion that sort of requires the town attorney to do a final look as to form.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that this parcel, the Pearson parcels came to the town in various pieces over the years. Some of them were subject to educational use requirements that were dealt with at the Attorney General's office. Other pieces came that did not have those restrictions. One of the questions is, at what point did those pieces merge into one, or did they affirmatively merge into one? Or are they still technically different parcels? We have not, and it may be that there was an assumption of merger made years ago when different lot lines were reconfigured, that may affect the answer to this question. For the commission's purposes, it doesn't matter, because what you are being asked to vote on tonight is whether or not the rear lot and this configuration of property is appropriate. So I've had very clear from the town attorney that it is absolutely appropriate for you to move forward with this, and anything in the chain of title that deals with the deed language of the descriptions, the legal descriptions that will be filed along with these when we get to closing, will be thoroughly reviewed by the town attorney. But the question for you is, does this configuration meet the town regulations?
I believe that the applicant clearly demonstrated that it does meet the regulations. I don't think there's any question on that. As far as I'm concerned, I think that Abby's completed a recommended motion. I don't see any issues with the recommended motion that would.
Do I get to read it?
You gonna read it?
Well,
Do we, or
I think we have to ask for a motion to approve or deny, first of all, and see if anybody would.
All right, I move to approve the special exception PCC 26-11 to permit a rear lot at 75 East Main Street as shown on the
I'll
plan.
second that.
Well, she's got to finish her motion. first.
Subdivision map 75 East Main Street, Clinton EMBD zone, dated May 11, 2026, prepared by VSC Group with the following conditions. One, prior to recording the lot line revision on the Clinton land records, the applicant shall provide a final Mylar from zoning enforcement officer's review, which shows the existing and proposed monuments in accordance with section 5.3.3 of the Clinton zoning regulations. Final legal descriptions and deed language for the proposed lot shall be reviewed by the town attorney prior to reporting the lot line revision on the Clinton land records. And adopt the following collective findings of fact. One, the planning and zoning commission previously approved applications for PCC 24-16 for a special exception in PCC 24-17 for a coastal site plan to permit the redevelopment of the Pearson School. Two, the proposed rear lot meets the requirements of section 12.10 and 26 of the Clinton zone regulations governing rear lots. Three, the proposed rear lot may be permitted by special exception in the East Main Street Village District zone pursuant to section 27.2.13 of the Clinton zoning regulations. Four, the proposed lot line revision is not a subdivision or a re-subdivision of land. Five, the project is consistent with the general conditions for special exceptions in section 11 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 6, the proposed application is consistent with the 2025 Plan of Conservation and Development Goal H04 to complete the first school project.
So we have a motion,
Second.
been seconded. Is there any further discussion? No questions?
No.
No? Okay. Therefore, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good luck.
you. The next item on tonight's agenda is PZC 26-12, and Dylan's gonna be exiting the room again.
Yes, that's.
Okay. This is for the special exception for the self-storage facility pursuant to section 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations at 335 East Main Street, rear, map 88, block 69, lot 124, the I2 zone.
See the language in there about the president.
Yeah, I think so.
Somebody else can read this, I've got pneumonia.
I got it.
Yeah, finding of fact 4 is the
You
one.
wanna read it, honey? Oh,
The name is Commissioner LeGarry.
let me tell you something, Carrie. I know you longer than.
So I think that we've, the applicant has been, we've gone over this, you know, in nausea. The applicant has gone through all the questions to do with the wetlands, I mean, to do with the drainage. They've satisfied the town engineer. There is the one, I don't want to call it an outstanding issue, but there is one concern with the parking to either require an electric vehicle charging station or a means to avoid that. If he reduces the parking by 9 spaces, they still meet the parking requirements for this type of facility. And then they would not have to add a vehicle charging station. The applicant has, during the public hearing has indicated that he is more than willing to do that. I think it's addressed here, is it addressed in your proposed motion? Abby?
Yeah, if, finding of fact 4.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Okay. And I have no issue with that being, the revised plan being approved by staff is fine with me. I don't know if any other commissioners have any issues with that?
No,
I appreciate the applicant, working with, willing to go.
thank you very much for working with us. It's been a long road.
Is there anybody, ready to make a motion on this?
So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application, which is PZC 26-12. Special exception for self-storage facility pursuant to section 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations, 335 East Main Street, map 88, block 69, lot 124. Zone I2, applicant Robert Osprey, and environmental engineer.
Would you like to read your motion?
Sure. I move to approve the special exception and coastal site plan for PZC 26-12 for 335 rear East Main Street as shown on plans titled Proposed Site Development Plan prepared for Shoreline Partners LLC, prepared by Osprey Environmental Engineers LLC, dated May 21st, 2026, with the following conditions. The applicant shall submit a stamped certified copy of approved drainage report prior to recording the special exception. Prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall provide the zoning enforcement officer with written documentation that the necessary Connecticut Deep Construction Stormwater General Permit has been filed. At least 2 weeks prior to the start of construction, the applicant shall meet with the zoning enforcement officer to review construction sequencing and the installation of sediment and erosion controls. As-built documents shall be required prior to the issuance of any zoning approvals associated with the certificate of occupancy. And adopt the following collective finding of fact. The consulting town engineer has reviewed the record plans and drainage design and has determined that the proposed project meets requirements of the 2024 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual and the 2024 Connecticut Guidelines for Soil Erosion and Sediment Control. The project as conditioned incorporates reasonable measures to mitigate potential adverse impacts to coastal resources and future water dependent development activity. The proposed application as conditioned is consistent with CGS section 22A 92. The applicant may reduce the overall number of non-accessible parking spaces with written approval from the zoning enforcement officer in compliance with section 33 of the Clinton zoning regulations. The project is consistent with the general conditions for the special exceptions in section 11 of the Clinton zoning regulations. The proposed warehouse and self-storage units are consistent with permitted uses in the I2 zone district and the requirements of the Clinton zoning regulations. The proposed application is consistent with the 2025 plan of conservation and development goals, EG-5 and EG-6, to support the redevelopment of vacant sites along the Route 1 corridor and support development in industrial zones while maintaining buffers to residential uses.
Thank you. We have a motion. Okay. Zach seconded. Under discussion, I have a question, actually. On number 4, says the applicant may reduce the overall, shouldn't that be shall?
You could change it to shall, there's not a number specified, but yeah, you could absolutely change that to shall.
I think we should change that to shall, because if we don't, then
They don't-
it brings open the question of.
There is a big difference between may and shall.
Yes.
So it should be shall, I'm sorry, it should be shall.
So you amend your motion to include the word.
Yeah, I'm gonna approve the word shall because shall is different from may.
Okay, so we have a motion that's been amended.
With an
Seconded.
Second, Bill, yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I bet you got nervous with that last comment, huh?
I saw you starting to sweat.
We just like seeing you.
Are we done?
Yes. Next item on tonight's agenda is the committee report. Is there any report from the regulation committee? I don't.
No, not, just a reminder that everybody needs to be here for the June 22nd meeting, so we can have that special meeting. As many folks as we can, and make sure we have a quorum, so.
Should I come to that one? I was gonna make this my last, but I got to the end of the, I resigned everything at the end of the month.
Yeah, as long as we have I mean, if you are tied up, and it would be great if you were here, but
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we have a full quorum of the commission.
I'll be here, my last meeting, that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby.
Do we have anything under correspondence and bills? There's nothing. Before we adjourn. Like to present.
Don't make me cry.
Danny, for as many years on this commission and several other commissions and committees on town.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really nice. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. We appreciate all the work you've done and continue to do for others.
Thank you.
Yeah. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make, oh, you should.
Oh, God.
No, you should.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion
All
to
those in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you both.